Father, thank you for this opportunity to gather. Thank you for everyone who is here. We just lift up their families, friends, everyone, Father, because we are truly overwhelmed with everything going on in the world around us. I don't think there's a person in this room who is not feeling the pressure of everything that is going on in their personal life, in our country, and in our world. And Father, we just admit that we don't have the words to say. We don't even know what to ask. But we know that in your word it says that the Holy Spirit in times like this will pray for us with groanings that cannot even be uttered. So Father, we ask Holy Spirit to pray for us and to give up those groanings that can't even be uttered and bring peace and healing and provision to our world in a way that only you can do it. And this body that sits before you, this commission, we realize that unless you build this county, we labor in vain. We thank you and we praise you, we trust you, and we look to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Florence.
Good morning. Today we will hear from City County EMA, Max Vaughn with Goodwyn Mills and Cawood, our county engineer George Speak, chief appraiser Clay Henley, mapping manager Todd Grant, manager of public affairs Hannah Hawk, executive director Maggie Brooks with Girls on the Run, from Legal Services Alabama Felicia Petway and Michael Fortin, John Pollock with the National Coalition for a Civil Right to Counsel, and Kelly McTeer, Director of the Montgomery County Volunteer Lawyers. This morning, Christy Thornton from EMA can't be here, but in her place is Ms. Johnson, an EMA planner.
Good morning. My name is Janaza Johnson, EMA planner for Montgomery County EMA. Montgomery County has 27,968 confirmed COVID cases. We have had 630 COVID-related deaths, and we are still listed as a high-risk community of transmission. For our vaccination numbers, there has been 70,937 citizens that have completed their vaccine series, which is 31.32% of the county's population. 96,734 citizens, or 42.71%, has received at least one dose. This brings the total doses administered to 164,070. For our vaccination efforts, we have done some neighborhood vaccination clinics. We had National Night Out, and no one came to get vaccinated. At Eastdale Mall, there was 4 people that received a vaccine. And also, we did a vaccination clinic with the Partners in Health for sanitation, and there was only 30 people who were vaccinated. A lot of that is the people that come up and we ask about the vaccines. A lot of people are just saying that they've already received it already instead of just not wanting it. So we will have our second dose Pfizer vaccination clinic this weekend. It will be August the 21st, which will be from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., and August the 22nd from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. For our first dose, we did 238 administered doses, so we're expecting those people to come back for their second dose. And when they come back, they get a free ticket to the fair.
Mr. Chairman, question. We're witnessing more COVID infections in the school-age population, and that's having a devastating effect in some areas. I'm just wondering, do we keep any data on how many in the school-age population, that 12 to 18-year-old age group, are actually receiving the vaccines or have already received it?
Yes, so for our first dose vaccination clinic for Pfizer, it was supposed to be for Pfizer, 12 and older can receive the vaccine. So I know the first day we had about 55 of the people that came that were minors that received the vaccine, and then it was about 51 more the next day. So a good amount of 100 and so that came for our first dose.
But overall for Montgomery County in terms of the aggregate data?
Oh, yeah, I don't have the number for the total for the county.
Thanks.
Sorry. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Now we'll review the items to be considered at the formal session. A letter agreement for funding resurfacing of Wasden Road and Lamar Road. FY 2022 Annual Transportation Plan per Rebuild Alabama Act. Consider a scrap tire marketing fund grant application for rubber mulch at Snowden Park. Consider health reimbursement account and flexible spending account renewal with Alliance Insurance. Consider 2021-2022 Blue Cross Blue Shield benefit plan and administration agreements. Consider an increase in employee and retiree health insurance premiums. Consider a memorandum of understanding with Alabama State University Center for Leadership and Public Policy regarding redistricting. Consider a contract for services between Levitate Legal and Consulting, LLC, the Montgomery County Commission, and the City of Montgomery for legal and consulting services related to the American Rescue Plan Act. Consider miscellaneous appropriations to agencies. Are there any additions? Consider miscellaneous appropriations to education. Any additions there?
Yes, Florence. $5,000 to Capitol Heights football team.
Anything else?
And $5,000 to Forest Avenue Magnet for the math and science program.
Anyone else? Consider miscellaneous appropriations from designated revenue.
I got $5,000 for Alabama State University football. You already know yours.
Yeah. 5,000 from me also to, from designated to ASU football.
Anything else? Consider a budget change request number 2 from the detention facility. Budget change requests number 7 and 8 for the engineering department. Budget change requests number 2 and 3 for the probate judge's office. A budget change request number 3 for the recreation board. A budget change request number 1 for risk management. A budget change request number 1 for support services. Consider a recommendation to upgrade the master auto mechanic from pay grade S10 to pay grade S11 for the engineering department. Consider a recommendation by personnel to upgrade the payroll and benefits manager from pay grade A06 to pay grade A08 for the finance department. Consider a position fill request for a community corrections officer. Consider position fill request for the detention facility for a corrections officer trainee and a corrections officer sergeant. Consider a position fill request for the finance department for administrative support specialist. Consider a position fill request for the sheriff's office for a deputy sheriff trainee, a deputy sheriff part-time, and a deputy sheriff lieutenant. Consider travel training requests for appraisal, the sheriff, the youth, and the youth facility detention.
Okay.
First of our visitors is Max Vaughn from Goodwyn Mills and Cawood to present 2 waive rule items, items 1 and 2.
Are we on Facebook today?
Hey.
I can't find it.
Let's ask this question for Axel. Axel, you were doing.
Hannah, are we on Facebook?
On our page? All right. Can't find it.
Ready? Good morning, it's Max Vaughn with Goodwyn, Mills and Cawood, and we're here to present one of two contracts for the Premier Tech Industry in the Montgomery Industrial Park. This first one is for the water and sewer extension. To serve this facility, it will include a water line extension and a sewer line extension, which will also include a pump station, which is needed to serve this facility. Total contract value is $31,000. Will include the design and construction management of this work. We'll be working in conjunction with the architects and engineers who are designing this site. So we're asking for this contract to be approved, and happy to answer anybody's questions.
What was the total amount that the commission had committed to this project when we okayed it?
It was $250,000 total, which includes this money as well. Any monies over that, it's our understanding the industry will take care of those funds.
$250,000?
Yeah,
Sure.
This is just a continuation of the purchase and sale agreement that we've already signed with Premier Tech, where we went after the industrial access grant for the road extension. The road extension's about $800,000 that the IA grant will cover. This is just the engineering cost sharing that the county will do, and then the water and sewer extension as well.
For some reason, 150,000 was in my head.
That number was a first estimate, but it's coming at 30,000, so. For the engineering cost for that $800,000 extension of that road.
Well, yeah, I knew about all that. My concern all along has been how much was it going to cost us?
It's going to cost $250,000 for the design and the construction. That includes all construction items for the water and sewer items.
This is
That's everything.
That's correct. That's correct.
We had thought that a CDBG grant would cover it, but I can't remember now the details, but it was not eligible.
Correct.
correct. It was not eligible because the wages were too high. They're about double what is the cutoff for CDBG money.
When did we find that out?
An executive session probably maybe 3 or 4 months ago.
Okay. All right.
I don't know the exact date. I can look back and see, but
Commissioner from that area, you got any questions, any concern? No, sir, no question. You all right with everything? Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Move on to the second item.
Uh-huh.
All right, the second item is for the road extension. And this is an IA grant. It's about $874,000 that was awarded for the road extension. Same project with Premier Tech. This road will, the design for this road, the total contract value is $49,250. We'll include all the road design approvals through ALDOT and administration of this contract to receive that grant and build this road. Happy to answer any questions.
Remind me, Steph, this is no new jobs, right? This is no new jobs, it's just a company
it's
moving
50 new jobs.
from one side of town.
50 new and 250 existing, so
Pardon?
350 new and 250 existing for 300 total.
15 new jobs?
50, yes, sir.
50.
50. At $30 an hour.
Okay. Okay, that was a waive rule item.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Premier Tech hopes to have an October 6th groundbreaking, and it's anticipated that the construction cost of that building will be,
The total capital investment's going to be about $35 million.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
next we'll hear from George Speak.
Good morning. This is item number 3. We would like to renew our concrete pipe contract with Foley products, and they've got a 5% increase, which that's allowed in the bid, and plus, because that's kind of in line with inflation. Inflation's running, I think, 5.6%. And that's all we got, if y'all agree to renew it. Thank you.
Okay.
Next, we'll hear from Clay Henley.
Good morning, Commissioners. Today I have a request for you to consider two contracts. One is with Income Works that we purchased on an annual basis. The cost is $49,000. I think this will be the 6th year that we purchased it. We use it for market data and to assist us with achieving equity and assessment of income-producing properties. I'll be happy to answer any questions about that contract if you have any.
I was just wondering, in terms of our IT department, do you all ever get together to talk about just what IT might be able to do in terms of the software that we purchase? I know we purchase quite a bit of software, probably to the tune of hundreds of thousands, if not million. So
Right.
I'm just wondering if you're doing anything with them in terms of how we might work together to reduce some of those costs.
Right, I think you've asked that question before, like on the GIS software. I think that would be something Rodney would need to answer, and I don't know if, I think he's addressed that. But with this is more of a, this one helps us gather market data for analysis to set market value for properties. So that wouldn't be something the IT department could do. Because in addition to the software actually setting up the results that we get from it, they help gather the data as well. So that wouldn't be an IT function on this particular one. So the second contract is with Keet Consulting Services. We already have them, but we have them on a software called ArcMap, which is with a company called ESRI. That's what we use for our mapping software. This provides us an extension to do data analysis, and the current software is stored on our computers. So if we are trying to use it remotely or through an iPad, we cannot do that, and it's really slow, doesn't work well through a VPN. What I'm asking for today moves us into a cloud-based functionality. It does not have to be installed every time we change a computer, every time we get a new employee. It doesn't have to be reinstalled when it goes down. We simply just log into it, and it can be used mobily. So the cost for that is $17,500 in the first year. $4,000 of that is implementation, and it's $13,500 every other year. About $4,400, I believe, of that will come off of us having to buy licenses for ESRI. So of that $13,500 on an annual basis, we're saving $4,400 on ESRI licenses that we would have to purchase, in any other year. And our aerial photography is coming down about $5,000 this year as well, which Todd will speak to in a moment. But so about probably $9,000 of this will come off of our budget in other places.
So you can handle the full thing? The full thing is in your budget? You can handle it within?
Yes, sir. It's in our budget for next year.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, next agenda.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next, we'll hear from Mapping Manager Todd Grant, item number 6 and 7 and 8.
Good morning, Commissioners. First item to consider today would be the our mapping software renewal with ESRI. That is an annually budgeted item, and as Clay said, they're about to change, so next year this will be even less because several licenses won't be renewed. And like I said, this is just the annual maintenance on our mapping software.
All right, next agenda.
All right. The second item I have is to have the county flown again for aerial photography. Again, this is a annually budgeted line item. The county's share would be about 22.5%, I believe. However, the Waterworks and Sanitary Sewer Board buy in for 18.96%, so that would be approximately 91,000 coming back to the, into the general fund, I believe, as soon as they pay. And we also sell imagery and data throughout the year.
Next agenda.
The next item is for a web application that allows users to view aerial photography and GIS data. So that's used by the Appraisal Department, the Board of Registrars, the Sheriff. And that, again, that's an annually budgeted item.
Who can access it? Who'll be accessing it?
Anyone at the county, anyone who requests it, I can provide, like I believe all of you have username and passwords to access it. And if not, I can show you how to access it.
Okay. Next agenda.
Those were the only three I have.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Hannah Hawk.
Good morning. Just want to remind you about the Montgomery County Extension Annual Report today at 12. And then also ACCA's 93rd Annual Convention is next week. And then Labor Day is coming up. Yay, we'll be closed. That's it.
Hannah, and the location for the extension?
Yes,
luncheon?
it's the Pike Road Agricultural and Performing Arts Rec Center, which is on 6281 Trotman Road. Okay.
Next, we'll hear from Maggie Brooks with Girls on the Run.
Good morning. Thank you for having us. I'm Maggie Brooks, and they'll introduce themselves in a minute. It's been a hot minute since we've been here, a few years, but I just wanted to thank you all for your continued support of our program and our girls. I don't know if y'all remember, but we started back in 2015. We came wanting to get this program started, and we started in 2 schools with 27 girls. And our last normal season was started in spring of 2020, right in the middle of the shutdown. And that was, we had grown each season, and we had ended up that season with about 320 girls across 22 schools across the river region. And we were really projecting to continue to grow. And then, as we all know, the world shut down. So we have really missed last year. I guess we had a few small teams virtually, but it's just not the same for our girls to experience this program. They, need this emotional support, and all of us being there with them, and we have missed. And so we are looking forward this season to hopefully being back in the schools. We have about 6 or 7 schools slated for this season, and hope to continue regrowing. And right now we're slated for Vaughan Road, Dalreda, Bear, Halcyon, Garrett Elementary, and we're still in talks with a few others. So we hope to start growing back up after when we had to slow down during quarantine and COVID. But Jenny's going to talk more about the program.
I'm Jenny Roth. I'm the co-director of Girls on the Run, and thank y'all for having us here today. I guess I really just wanted to talk about how important this program is for our girls. Most of them in our community did virtual everything last year, and Girls on the Run is so important because it is a leader in the field of social emotional learning. And so as the kids start getting back to school, our program provides for a girl that has been missing connection and friends. We have a positive space where they can connect with coaches and girls and teammates. For those that may be fearful or uncertain with everything going on, we have a space where we talk about emotions, and we let them know that that's normal, and we give them a space to positively express their emotions and teach them how. We have intentional decision-making lessons, and we also do a lot of goal setting and teaching them how to be intentional. And just with with a lot of the kids missing a lot of those social and relational skills last year by just being at home and being isolated. We just feel the program is more important now than ever has been. But we did struggle last year because we weren't able to implement our program in the schools. And so we would love for the Montgomery County Commission to support us and help us get back to where we're wanting to be. And I wanted to introduce, this is Elizabeth Williams. She's the chairman of our board. And then I'll introduce too, this is Dr. Ross. She's a board member. And then Rashad Private, he's a board member. And Elizabeth wanted to speak to you for a minute.
Hi. So I'm with Baptist Health, and we actually met these two wonderful ladies several years ago. In 2015, I think they first approached us, and we helped to build the seed money to start Girls on the Run. It's a national nonprofit organization, and so we came on board and we did that. I, of course, got involved because I was one of those girls. We didn't have the program, but I was one of those girls who, my mom was a housekeeper. She never drove. We didn't have a car. I couldn't afford the shoes. I couldn't afford to do extracurricular activities. And that's so important, right? Yes, I began to get involved in things, and I had mentors surrounded by individuals that helped me build up. I'm a part of this organization because I believe in that, and I believe in these girls. I'm just not the chairman of the board. I've been involved in the board, but I am a substitute coach. I go in there with those girls. I've done Wes Ferry, and it touches my heart to be involved with them and for us to run those laps together. I'm an avid runner, and so all of these individuals here, we're asking for these funds because we believe in these girls. I know that you may know a girl that's been involved in this program, and it's something when we do something when they come in to get fitted for these shoes that, thank you to all our supporters that helped to fund those shoes for those girls, and they come in there with shoes that are too small, they don't know their shoe size, and we're able to sponsor that to build those girls up when they try those shoes on, and they feel so good because it might be the only brand new pair of shoes that they get. Like, it's heartfelt work that we do. So yes, it's funds, yes, it's money, yes, it's time, but you're building up future leaders, and especially now during COVID, where we're fighting so hard. Let me just tell you, that drive-up clinic, I was one of those individuals that helped lead that with our volunteers, and we vaccinated 8,000 people on our first dose and 8,000 our second dose. It is so real right now, and the emotional and physical health that we can give to these girls is so important. I'm sorry, didn't mean to preach. I'm really here. They pushed the chairman to ask for the money, but my heart is just really in this. And so I hope that you guys can help us fund the teams that we have. We've given you a little presentation so that you can see, but this is a national program, and the part that we began in South Central Alabama is so important. I talked all that up just to say we'd like for you all to help us fund five teams, and it's $3,000 per team for the girls. Yes, that equals up to $15,000. That's why we had like all 5 of us here to ask for, for each team. We all supported it. So we hope that you guys consider this, that if you don't know about Girls on the Run, I hope that you follow us so that you can learn about what we do in the community, how important these girls are, and that you guys can come out and be involved in our 5K and our dinner on the run and the things that we do, how you can really personally see how these girls are involved in the community, okay? Thank you.
You need not ask no more.
Thank you. Thank you.
You got it.
Yeah, Commissioner Walker, I think, brought this to us years ago, and I've been supporting him. I've been to your run, the 5K run, and Old Cloverdale. I've been to there, and the crowd, good crowd. Do y'all have a budget or something y'all could share with us?
Sure.
I know it's not in here.
No, I can send that to y'all. I'll send it. Yeah, I can do that for sure.
Do you all rotate from one school to the next school? I didn't hear one of my schools mentioned when you
Well,
wrote
we
it.
try to reach out to as many schools as possible. Some principals are, more willing to accept it, but we want to be in any school that will have us. So if you have any ideas, if you have any input, we want every girl to have this program. So we are not limiting this to anyone. So I would love to chat with you if you have help in getting us into any of your schools. That'd be fantastic.
Thank you.
And like you said, some schools have fallen off because of the pandemic, so we need to boost them and strengthen them. It's no secret that I'm a huge fan of this program, and at any time that we've ever needed it, we need to focus on health, mental health and physical health, and that's what y'all are doing, so thank you. And thank you for the bagels.
Welcome.
Thank you all.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They were sponsored. I think we spent the funds on.
And Rashad, congratulations.
Oh, yeah.
On your new business. You're across the street from my husband's business. Yeah, congrats.
Bama State basketball player.
Oh, really?
He played at Bama State.
He just opened a new business,
Yeah.
printing, I think.
Yeah, he does screen printing. Yeah. Had
Over
ribbon
on,
cutting
over
last
off
week.
Airbase Boulevard.
Okay.
We have a few more items to consider on our agenda before we hear from our representatives from Legal Services. Item number 9 is amendment number 1 to the contract with the Bridge, Inc. to manage and operate Davis transitions for the Youth Facility Juvenile Court. If you have any questions, I believe Ray Williams is here and can answer those.
Are we getting, I know as a part of that agreement a couple of years ago, we asked for periodic reports on what was being done under that contract. Are we getting those reports? I think it was a part of the agreement as well, that they would be provided.
I don't think so.
I think that, don't you all have an annual evaluation or,
That's not
That's not what he's
what
talking
I'm,
about.
what I'm asking.
That's not what he's talking about.
It's in the, as I recall, I noticed it wasn't a copy of the contract included in the materials that I got, but the contract that I recall reading called for that, because I asked for it. In the past, there's been issues regarding the performance under this contract, and we wanted to track it and see what was going on and what kind of progress and what kind of treatment was being provided and who was being reached, and I haven't seen anything on that.
Okay.
You know, I understand that the state sends the money down here and expects us to use it, and we need the money and we need to use it. But we need to make sure that we're getting something for this. You know, the juvenile violence, the violence among juveniles and crime among juveniles, it's getting worse. And if we're going to have a program that we're funding and that's supposed to address those type of issues, then I want to know what they're doing to do that, and if something else we can do to do it, because this is important. This is something we need help. And we just don't need to, time after time. I remember the last time the circuit judge came down here and I objected, and it got past me, but a part of that was that we'll give annual reports on it. I don't know if it was annual reports, but it's in the contract when we're supposed to get them.
Report.
And we haven't gotten them. I don't know what's going on with this contract, and I'm reluctant to renew it.
Ray, won't you get with Commissioner Harris, because when we requested that, you were not there. It was somebody else, it was under somebody else's leadership. He was not there. So won't you get with Commissioner Harris, and he can tell you in detail what he would like to have, like to see, what we would like to see.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, I think it's something the commission needs to know,
Yeah.
what's going on in that contract.
All right. Thank you.
Do you want to
else?
put this on the next agenda,
Yes,
or?
okay. Mhm.
Ray, call me later. I want to ask about something else too.
Okay.
Talk about.
All right, thank you.
Item number 10 is amendment number 2 to the contract with Borden Dairy of Alabama for milk and juice products for the Youth Facility Detention Center.
Okay, next, Jim.
Item number 11, recognize and deny a claim regarding Crystal Mendoza.
Next agenda.
Item number 12 is an alcohol license application for a Latino festival.
Next agenda.
Item number 14 is an email from Executive Director Johnny Williams with Central Alabama Sports Commission requesting $150,000 for the 2021 Montgomery Kickoff, the Red Tails Classic, and the Camellia Bowl College football games. There's attached a proposed budget change in line with how those projects have been funded in past years.
Where did we get that money from?
General fund.
Okay. Any concerns? Any discussion?
How much did we give them last year?
150.
Okay.
It used to be 100, then it went up to 150.
All right.
Next agenda.
Yes.
Now we will hear from,
No, hold
Oh,
on. Let's
I'm
go
sorry.
back. You had a letter from Alabama State.
yes, sir.
You decide on that.
Alabama State has requested funding for the President's Gala.
The gala is the next week? Is the next week? September 3rd? Where's September 3rd?
Friday, September 3rd at the Renaissance Hotel.
Okay.
We need to get this done.
Yeah. And then you got the Turkey Day Classic. I think, didn't you discuss something with President Ross yesterday? Good.
Yes, sir. And he had requested $150,000 for the gala, the Labor Day game, and the Turkey Day Classic,
That's together.
all together.
Yeah. I'm all right with that, Mr. Chairman.
What did we do last time for that event, Mr. Chairman?
We did 100 last year.
There was 100,000 for the Labor Day deal. This year, Turkey Day is really the big day, I believe. Tuskegee is coming back for the first time, and I don't know when. That's going to be a big event. So I don't have a problem with $150,000 for both of them.
Are we concerned, because I don't have a problem either, I don't suppose, but are we concerned about gathering in light of COVID and the different variants and so forth? I was just wondering about, I know I had a pretty grand time at the event the last time we held it. Are we concerned about the gathering at all? Just curious.
I think that we're concerned, and the people that are sponsoring these things are concerned.
Mhm.
I mean, we're not in a position to stop them from doing what they need to do if they want to do it. But it's up to them to decide whether or not it's going to be safe enough to have these events.
Okay.
But they haven't been canceled, as I know.
All right.
I did see some stuff. I know Tuskegee had canceled some of the peripherals,
Right.
you know, indoor gatherings and stuff like that around something that they're doing. But I
But
haven't seen anything about these two.
Right. But didn't our mayor cancel several events here that were scheduled for the city? Oh, I thought you said Tusk. Oh.
For that game, though.
Oh, okay, all right.
But yeah, the city
Okay.
canceled all the events.
Right, okay. I would love to be there, but I don't think I'm gonna take any chances.
Which one? Which one you're not gonna be at?
Probably neither.
Okay. I want to make sure you want to do what you did. Okay. Okay.
So
150, yeah.
$150,000.
That's for both of them. Designated.
And the source of that funding,
Designated, isn't it?
Can you get it from the same place you got the other one?
sir?
Can you get it from the same place you got Johnny Williams from?
Fund balance?
Yeah.
That's, certainly it can come from there.
Yeah. I don't see why we can't. And you designated.
It's the same
you
person.
What you got your sheet, what the designated we got? Are we saving anything? What? Are we saving anything today?
crazy thing to do, but y'all do what you want to do. I think it's excessive.
It's the same principle as,
Yeah.
as what we're doing for the red tail and the three other
Million
games.
Bowl,
These
yeah.
two games are gonna have more people in town than all three of those.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, so I don't see why the funds can't come from the same place if they're there. And we can hold on to this.
Yeah, get it to the same place.
We can hold on to this.
So a budget change from
Yeah. and-
general fund or fund balance.
Yeah, we can hold on to this.
And do you want that
Never won't spend anything.
Huh?
approved today? That budget change?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And next, we will hear, is that anything else before we hear from legal services? All right, Ms. Petway, Michael Fortin, John Pollock, and Kelly McTier.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Felicia Petway, and I'm the Director of Development for Legal Services Alabama. And we're here today to request support from the Montgomery County Commission for funds and support for emergency relief of individuals who are suffering or possibly suffering from imminent evictions throughout the county during the pandemic. We realize that there are funds available due to the Treasury Department for rental reimbursement. However, there is no allocation of funding for legal representation, which is critical because this pandemic is twofold. And my team here will talk about how it affects our residents. But currently, we are facing individuals who might be eligible for funding for rental relief. However, if an eviction has been filed for a person and is pending in court, unlike any of the agencies who provide support currently for funding, they do not have legal representation. The courts can move forward, and we're trying to prevent people from being homeless. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Michael Fortin, the Director of Advocacy for Legal Services, and each person will proceed accordingly.
Thank you, Commissioners, and I will try to keep it brief. It's really hard to encapsulate 20 years worth of my life into this 5 minutes, but I will do it. We've handed out 2 documents from Legal Services. The first is our annual report. Read that at your leisure. Just want you to get to know our program. And the second one is the actual proposal for the hiring of 2 attorneys. Really fast, in case you don't know Legal Services, and I hope you do, we are a statewide law firm. We cover all 67 counties. We have about 60 attorneys in 8 different offices, and we help about 11,000, 12,000 people every year, give or take, depending on the year. Specifically, we're here to talk about housing. We also do domestic violence, consumer, public benefits, all different sorts of stuff. This last year, though, initially with the pandemic, we got a lot of public benefits, but really for the last 12 months, 18 months, it's been housing. I've included statistics in your packet, and there's a little colored chart on the 3rd page basically laying out that comparing 2019, 2020, and 2021, and you can see that the number of eviction cases coming into our office has doubled. Each of our attorneys handles 70 to 100 extended cases and about 200 or 300 cases already before this happened, and that is now the number of housing cases has doubled. It's doubled statewide, and it's also doubled Montgomery. What that means is that, ultimately, when we can't serve people, we have to turn them down. There's 2 options. We turn them down, or we limit the service they get. I don't like either. I didn't go to law school. I didn't sign up for this program to do that, but that's ultimately, we just don't have the manpower. We don't have the the bandwidth to serve them. And you can look at the numbers, I'm not going to read them to you, but basically the number of rejections in Montgomery County alone has doubled. The number of cases that we had to limit just to counsel and advice. That means someone calls our call center, we could have given them an attorney, they could have sometimes avoided going to court, they could have called the landlord, worked it out beforehand, but because they don't, they may end up worse off and or homeless, which also has obviously an impact on y'all and the services you have to offer. So, and I'm going to turn it over to John Pollock. I will say it's really hard for me, and the one thing that kind of drives me nuts about this, I'm so proud of the organization I work for. I love it. It's my life. It's the only thing that gets me out of bed in the morning, and I'm really proud of the 12,000 people we do. But in the back of my mind, there's always there's at least 40,000 people in Montgomery County living below the poverty line. There's 1.7 million people statewide who are eligible for our services, and we can't help all of them. I know we probably will never be able to help all of them, but especially now, today, with the housing crisis, there is something we can do, and I hope you'll support us in that. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is John Pollock. I'm the coordinator of the National Coalition for Civil Rights Council, but I live right here in Montgomery, Alabama. I'm just going to give you a few statistics about Alabama, where we are right now with this crisis, and then why jurisdictions have decided to use emergency rental assistance money for legal rep, which is allowed by Treasury. So right now, 45% of all Alabama renters and 64% of the lowest income levels have slight to no confidence in their ability to pay next month's rent. That's where we are right now. 22.6% of all Alabama renters report being behind on their rent right now. So that's almost a quarter of all Alabama renters. And 15% of all Alabama renters say it's very likely they'll be evicted, and 45% say somewhat likely. This is census surveying of Alabama renters. And in this backdrop, as you heard from Michael, we have legal services turning people away because we are one of the lowest, if not the lowest, funded state for legal services in the country. Alabama is. Right now, there are jurisdictions all over the country, and I'm just going to name a few: Ohio, Maine, Michigan, Oklahoma, Wyoming. These are all places that have put ERA, emergency rental assistance money, into legal representation. Oklahoma has put $2.6 million, Wyoming put $1 million in, Michigan put $7 million in, Cuyahoga County, Ohio put $1 million in. This is allowed by Treasury. Treasury says that up to 10% of ERA money can be used for legal representation. That's explicitly allowed by the regs. And we know right now that this money, the ERA money, is not going to reach renters in time, because the time it's taking the state and the county to process the applications, by the time they do, so many of these renters are going to already have been evicted. So that rental assistance that we're saving is not actually going to reach every renter that needs it. But legal representation right now can keep those people housed. And what legal representation does in these situations is it increases awareness of the rental assistance program. These are all things that further the goals of rental assistance. It increases awareness. It helps tenants submit the application, because the application is quite complex. For landlords that don't want to take rental assistance, which is increasingly a problem, they're saying no. If they know that the tenant has a lawyer, they're much more likely to take the rental assistance, because they know that they'll have an obstacle to evicting if they don't. And then also the legal complexity right now with the CDC moratorium basically, sort of being gone and then coming back, and there are legal challenges to it, and landlords are saying it's invalid. The chance of the tenants negotiating all of that without an attorney is basically impossible. And that's why these jurisdictions have been allocating millions of dollars for legal representation, recognizing this whole picture. So I'm going to turn it over to my other colleagues, but just to say, I do this work in 41 states across the country, and we're seeing more than ever ERA money going to legal representation for all of the reasons that I just mentioned to you, and I'm hopeful that Montgomery County can see clear to do so as well. Thank you.
My name is Kelly McTeer, and I am the president of the board of directors for the Montgomery County Volunteer Lawyers Program. For the past 18 months, I've also been serving as its acting director, given the complications of COVID and hiring a new executive director during a pandemic. In my day job, I am an associate professor at Jones Law School. I am here representing my program and the 400 plus of my closest lawyer friends who volunteer their time and skills with my program to express our support for the initiatives of legal services and the work that John and his coalition are doing to provide assistance to many, many people who have been impacted by COVID-19, especially in the housing arena. While we do believe that the direct rental assistance funds that have been allocated are an enormous step towards providing housing security for people who otherwise might not have it because of the financial hardships of the pandemic, we also know that because the pandemic has gone on so long, there is an enormous number of housing cases here in Montgomery County. My program sees that every other week as we go into district court and provide pro bono representation to litigants in Montgomery County's district courts where unlawful detainers are heard. We know that there are a lot of cases that have been continued. We know that there is going to be not just a human ramification, but an impact on the efficiency and efficacy of the legal system because of the backlog of cases that has come about during the pandemic. We know that additional lawyers in the courtroom can help clear those burdens faster. And that's why we're happy for our partnerships with Legal Services Alabama and other legal assistance agencies. And we hope that we can count on the support of the commission as we all try to work together and get this mess cleaned up.
Mr. Chairman, you have really, really educated me today. I had no idea that a portion of the funds that we received in the Emergency Rental Assistance Program could be used for legal representation through the help of legal services and the Volunteer Lawyers Program. We have a process and a program that's put together that's, in my mind, that's ineffective and definitely in need of some legal support to help individuals who are struggling with the process, number one. The application process is complicated, as you have indicated, and there are people who are frustrated, people who fall out of it. There are even landlords who are frustrated and who fall out of it because of the process. I had no idea that we could do it. And I would hope that you've opened the ears of these other my fellow commissioners here as well, that you've opened mine, because there is money. There's money that we're unable to give to people that really need it because of the inefficiencies and ineffectiveness of the system that's in place to deliver the funds.
Yes,
Which
sir.
means that there are people being evicted that can't afford legal services to try to stay in their houses and do this. And we should be doing everything we can with that money.
And Commissioner, you know the money is always the biggest hurdle for legal services providers like us. And we know now that challenge has the potential to be very easily addressed. And we want to make sure that those connections are made so that that can happen.
My goal has always been to get that money, $7 million spent, to people that need it. And my fear the whole time when it became eligible for it, my fear was that we'd have this money and wouldn't be able to get it to the people that need it. You know, and that's what's happening. And if you're in a position to help on the front end or the back end, and we have funds that can be used to do that, I'm for using those funds to do that. So you have me as a supporter. I just hope that my fellow commissioners can understand this as well.
I also want to echo that. Certainly don't intend to follow the attorney because I realize you all are attorney. Mr. Harris is an attorney as well. But if I could say, I certainly appreciate the work that you all are doing. I've got numerous of calls from constituents that I serve. I serve one of the most socioeconomically depressed districts in Montgomery County. So I continue to get calls about the money. Even the landlords are calling about the money. I had a landlord call me the other day to say that he had his application in, the tenant moved out, and now they say they're not going to pay him. And I called the gentleman from Horn, and he tells me that because that particular tenant is no longer subject to eviction, the landlord will not be getting the money. So that's all type of problems going on with this program. I appreciate what you all are doing. I know that Mr. Boston has really been provided his service and just a fine manner trying to keep folks in their home. He's working with one of my constituents to save her house. And that's kind of a different story, but I just appreciate the work that you all do. And as Commissioner Harris said, hopefully this body as a whole will agree to fund the legal services that these applicants for emergency rental system need. I support it.
Can I just say one thing? The city has funded, but it's for the city. So we have the Montgomery City where we wrote for the CDBG and received funding. But, you know, when we report those numbers there for Montgomery City, we're trying to meet where the city is where the funding is not available to ensure that everybody is served in Montgomery County.
What are you asking us for specifically?
The proposal is for 2 attorneys, Your Honor. And Felicia's right, we did get 1 attorney for the city of Montgomery. But if you can see, in just the last 3 months, we had 250 housing cases. That even that 1 attorney from the city of Montgomery is not going to cover this. But the proposals for 2 attorneys, the dollar amounts in the proposals.
And how much is that?
159,600.
159,000.
Is that gonna be 2 new attorneys? Y'all would hire 2 new
Yes, sir.
attorneys?
Yes, sir.
I know what the work of the Montgomery Volunteers, because you're housed at the courthouse. I know your work and all that, and I've always admired y'all's volunteer work. What's the relationship between y'all and Legal Services now? I wasn't aware there was a relationship.
So Legal Services Alabama is one of the funders for the Montgomery County Volunteer Lawyers Program and our 3 employees who coordinate all those volunteer hours. In addition, we work very closely with them on a personal level to assess the legal needs in our community and really work as a team to address those needs.
And I would just add to that, you know, like Kelly's a former legal services attorney. We worked together back when she was at Legal Services. And the VLPs around the state, including the Montgomery VLP, work with us all the time, including on some great projects. I know Kelly's working with us about getting some divorce forms out so people can help do their own divorce too in the future. So I mean, it's a lot of different projects, too many for.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like for us, Ms. Cauthen, to try to work with the people that are administering this thing to find out what we can do with these funds, and if at all possible we can do this, that we would help to use those funds.
We have been communicating with them, and Treasury just issued clarified the regulation recently to clarify that, yes, there are 2 separate buckets of money, the 10% administrative fee. In addition, up to 10% of the available funds can be used for housing sustainability, and that would include these types of legal services. The second round of rental assistance money clarifies a lot of the issues that were presented with the first round. The regulations are less stringent, I think that's fair to say, and it's a reflection of this administration's determination to get the money out to the people needed, whereas so much of what has gone on with the first round has been difficult. For example, the requirement that if the tenant is no longer in the household, in the rental property, the landlord is not paid. And we've tried to find ways, I don't want to say ways around that, but that's what the Treasury regs are. This is federal grant money, and we are obligated to follow those regs. The money that they are asking for would come out of the money that would otherwise be available to the tenants. Right now, our applications, we have rental requests in excess of $6 million and utility requests in excess of $6 million. A lot of those, like we talked about recently, applications are pending, additional information is required.
It hurts you when you actually say, how much have we actually spent? How much have we actually paid?
We have actually dispersed $894,000. What's budgeted, ready in the process to be dispersed is $1.4 million. Horn brought on we got $7 million. We haven't even spent $1 million.
No, these reduced restrictions on the rest, they're not going to do anything to alleviate the problems that these people are addressing.
And sir, if I can add another point as well that's worth noting, Treasury is under obligation starting October 1 to reclaim funds that have not been obligated by the jurisdictions. The fact that the county has a certain number of applications pending is not an obligation of those funds. If the funds have not actually been paid to those tenants, those funds are subject to being reclaimed by Treasury. That's one of the reasons why using some of these funds right now with legal services, even if legal services does not deliver all of the services by the end of September, that contract with legal aid is a commitment of those funds that will protect those funds that are spent from being reclaimed by Treasury. So even if Montgomery County had $20 million of pending applications, those funds may get taken back by Treasury if that money hasn't actually gone out the door by September 30th.
Well, that's not lost on me. Just because there's $6 million worth of applications does not mean that $6 million is going to be paid. So
Right.
those applications, most of them are going to sit there and people are going to get disgusted and walk away.
Right, that's
You know,
absolutely true.
So I'm not concerned with that. What I'm concerned with is whether or not and how we can get the money that we have to fund 2 lawyers for these people so that they can help the people that are going to be frustrated, and the landlords and the renters that's going to be frustrated because they can't get their hands on the money, and to keep people in their houses, to keep people off the streets. That's my interest. That's what I'm interested in doing with the money. And that way we know the money's being spent, and we know it's being spent on something that's really helping.
And even with the second round, I think we've gotten some of the money for the second round of the emergency rental assistance program. So that's just more money, sitting in the account that we need to be concerned about. So I hope that we can move forward, Mr. Chairman.
I need to hear from Commissioner
How will,
Walker.
if the 2 attorneys are brought on board, how will that be communicated to the general public? Explain the process for that.
Well, bringing the 2 attorneys, like we do social media, we do outreach in the communities. I can tell you just as I've been doing this in this role for 5 years and about 15 before that. It just seems like whenever we start giving full service to the community, more people come in. And when we start slowing down things, people tell their neighbors they don't show up. And we're doing outreach with the volunteer lawyer programs. We'll be at the courthouse.
Community clinics once a week. Our program holds community clinics once a week at Flatline Church and Chisholm, or every other week at Flatline Church, and then at other places in the community, public library branches, anywhere we can get in at this point. We publicize on social media. We print out flyers and give them to social services agencies so that they can let their client populations know about our services. And as more information has become available and more funding opportunities have become available, we update those materials to make sure that the information is disseminated as far and wide as possible in our local community, so people don't just know what they see on the national news. They know how to access those benefits right here in Montgomery.
And the judges, we also put attorneys in court, and the judges will tell the client who comes unrepresented, legal services or the volunteer lawyers are here in court, go over and talk to them. Because a lot of times people don't come to court if they don't have an attorney, or they come and they're not prepared to win their case. So we do all of those things.
My concern is when you say new. The group you got here, you're experienced, you've been doing this for a while. When you say new, are you talking about 2 people off the street that have to learn the process? Are you talking about people assigned to it?
I cannot promise you, Commissioner, that they will be 2, 5, 10-year vets. What I can tell you is that I've always really admired the U.S. Army, and one of the things I love about the U.S. Army is their ability to put people through boot camp. They get them up and going. They take civilians and turn them into soldiers within like 3 months. That's what we do at Legal Services. We are, with all humility aside, we are the best lawyers at defending tenants in the state. We're really the only lawyers who defend. We've got trainings, outlines. I can take a law student because they're already educated, they're already ready to go, and turn them into a housing lawyer in 1 or 2 weeks. I mean, we usually start them out in the easier cases, negotiating with landlords, and then move them up to jury trials, after a couple of years. But even if it is 2 new lawyers, we can get them ready to go quickly.
All y'all's revenue is through grants, basically. There's a little bit of contribution.
It's the kind of work you do from your heart, Doug.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
Brian Stevens has started out doing this kind of work for people. I mean, you got brilliant lawyers who are dedicated to the profession and helping people that are doing this for a little or nothing. They could really have some real lawyer
Yeah, I know
jobs, making plenty of
the
money.
volunteers, I'm
You know,
familiar.
this is-
I wasn't
this is-
familiar with legal services.
So
but
it's not
volunteers.
about, in my mind, I believe you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's just these people out there that are hurting. Alabama has a reputation of not funding. They wanted to kick legal service out of the state during one period. They have a reputation for not funding indigent people. When I came on this commission, we didn't even have a public defender's office. I mean, it's just that way. But, you know, I'm on this commission now. I'm a lawyer. I realize the importance of the underserved being represented in court. I understand that. That's important, you know. There's no way you can have all the rights you want to have. If you don't have any way to get to court to defend them, then it's just like not having any rights.
Commissioner Walker? You all right? You all right? Okay, we got the money to fund this?
Yes, sir, it can come from the rental
Okay, I just
assistance.
wanna make sure
All right,
we got
I don't have a copy of the proposal you presented. Kelly, what are you requesting?
You got to formalize this, make it.
She's requesting 25,000 per year plus
25,000
5,000.
per year. That would fund a contract attorney for our program to ensure that the expertise that Michael's able to offer his student, or his attorneys, because they're employees, I could have with that contract attorney who has some expertise and can coordinate and assist my volunteers and exponentially increase our efficacy in the number of volunteers who feel capable of handling these types of cases. And an additional, I believe, $3,000 to $5,000 of that $25,000 is also for technology assistance. So at our community clinics, we'll have the requisite scanners and laptops and internet access to help people and assist them in filling out those ERA applications or addressing any deficiencies in their existing ones.
Get her a copy of the proposal. You don't have a copy of the proposal.
We can contract
Okay.
to provide.
While he's passing that, I do want to say that we received 0 state funding. As the Director of Development and prior Black Belt Managing Attorney, it is so important that we meet our people that are the least of these, as you said, and this is an opportunity to do so.
So this would just be a one-year agreement?
It's a one-year agreement, but look, we do Director of Development, we do CDBG grants throughout the entire state of Alabama. This isn't just new for Montgomery County. We have 2 programs running in Mobile currently, just like what we're asking you for. All of the entitlement cities throughout the state have reached out to us that we're offering. They've allocated funds in Huntsville, in Birmingham, Jefferson County, and Birmingham City. We're just missing this component here. We just received a grant for Dothan also.
We thank you. We got to move on.
Thank you.
You're gonna be okay. We got.
Florence, on Horn's contract, did they ask for 10%? They were a little below the 10%, right?
Correct.
So where's that difference money?
You know, we've engaged Mid-Alabama Coalition for the Homeless to assist us. For example, they're going to some sort of landlord training tonight on that subject, and they are helping to process applications.
So how do you rate Horn's activity?
They have struggled, just like they've struggled with the state program, and I think the local jurisdictions. I still agree they're the best choice. I think this is a nationwide problem in terms of getting the money distributed.
Florence, you'll be getting with them, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. That's it, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Do we need a break?
I don't know how to respond to that.
Just push, yeah, no, you're out of there now. the home button again.
Okay, we'll go to our formal session. I'm going to ask our Recreation Department leader, James Reeves, to come up and do invocation. Mr. Walker, the Pledge of Allegiance.